News out of the NFL here on Tuesday, where Stefon Diggs has agreed to a 3-year, $69 million contract with the Patriots. That's been confirmed by our Jonathan Jones. The deal includes $26 million guaranteed. The former All-Pro wideout spent last season with the Texans, suffering a season-ending torn ACL in late October. It's still unknown whether Diggs will be ready for Week 1 of this regular season. Jonathan Jones back in the mix to react. JJ, as we process this news in real time, what does the structure of that deal tell you?
It tells me that this is probably more realistically a 2-year deal for Stefon Diggs. There has to be some protection, some insurance for the New England Patriots. Look, this is also something that the Patriots just needed. This is not a very good wide receiver room for New England. This is now you want to call it the third wave of free agency. This is an aging wide receiver, someone with a lot of pelts on the wall in Stefon Diggs, who is coming off an ACL, so you're going to have to spend a little bit in order to make sure that you get him, in order to make sure that you respect what he's been able to put out there on the field over the past couple of years. And frankly, you were hoping a great deal that he is going to return as healthy as ever. So this sort of 3-year, $69 million contract, once we really get the terms of it, it's probably going to be something more like a 2-year deal, and then a we'll see after that for Diggs and the Patriots.
Yeah, it's a 4-time Pro Bowler here coming off an injury, as you said, but a name brand wide receiver, one that brings a bit of that wide receiver je ne sais quoi, if you will, with him. All the good, all the bad that sometimes comes with that as well. I only offer that to ask you, this is a departure from, quote-unquote, the Patriot way. Prioritizing a name brand wide receiver isn't something that we're used to with this franchise. Is it further indication that Mike Vrabel, yes, is going to do things the way the Patriots have, but also going to do things his way?
Yeah, I think so. I think so for sure. Look, this is also a group that they wanted to get DK Metcalf, right? Before Mike Vrabel got there, and before he signed a deal with the San Francisco 49ers, they wanted to get Brandon Ayuk. They have been trying to get a wide receiver to come there. Calvin Ridley, right? They were willing to overspend on Calvin Ridley. One thing that has really gotten the Patriots, and look, this is not just a New England problem or a Massachusetts problem. A number of states have this issue when it comes to players, is a state income tax. And so when you get into these sort of bidding wars for players against a team that is located in Nevada, that is in Tennessee, that's in Florida, you're going to have a tough go at it, right? They could have been in the market with a Chris Godwin. They were in the market for a Chris Godwin. You have to really overpay what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are willing to do. Understand, 1, it's a hometown discount. 2, there's familiarity. And then 3, he's taking home a lot more money, even if he is discounted, in Tampa than he would in Massachusetts. All of those things have been sort of working against the Patriots from before Mike Vrabel and certainly during Mike Vrabel's short tenure now as head coach there. But when you consider, again, their wide receiver room, a group that desperately needs talent, names, whatever you want to say, then you have to go out there and you have to spend on a guy like Stefon Diggs. And you have to hope, going into his age 32 season, that he will continue to have the 1,000-yard receiving seasons that he had before he tore his ACL there in Houston about midway through the year.
And get the sophomore quarterback and Drake May a target to throw to. Maybe that pushes them even further towards tackle in this year's upcoming draft. Also taxing an offense in Houston here, confirmed no more Stefon Diggs. And a tackle that's gone, another severe injury to that wide receiver core. We'll see how they put things around C.J. Stroud. Jonathan Jones, thank you as always. The ripple effect everywhere, always interesting, and the Patriots hoping that this is a positive effect on their offense. The addition of Stefon Diggs, hopeful to change these numbers. Offensive ranks a year ago, it's a rookie quarterback trying to find his. There were flickers, there were flashes, perhaps consistency for Drake May this year. Just through your reporting on this one, we've been tracking Wilson relative to Rodgers, and we'll get there, but how did the deal get done here in New York?
Okay, so let's go back to last year, right, when the Denver Broncos released Russell Wilson. He was a free agent. He was going to play on the veteran minimum. He took a trip to the Giants, took a trip to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Giants still had Daniel Jones, couldn't really tell him, hey, you're going to be QB1. The Steelers, hey, you can be QB1. Wound up going ahead and getting Justin Fields. Had the injury in training camp, couldn't start at the start of the year. Probably, if it were up to Russell Wilson, would have gone out there on the field earlier than a conservative Steelers medical staff allowed him to. But when he was handed over the reins to a winning team, continued that winning until, of course, the months got a little colder, the season got a little longer, and everything caught up to Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we see right there. Look, it was a one-year experiment. Both sides wanted it to be more successful than it was. Perhaps if it were 0-5 and then 6-1, we'd be talking about Russell Wilson having returned to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the way things ended, maybe some personalities there, it ultimately, Russell Wilson was not going to go back to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wasn't really going to have Russell Wilson back. And so he has known that. The Giants have known that for some time. And so getting him in at the start of legitimate NFL free agency, not that legal tampering window, but as soon as the real free agency could begin, he took that trip to the Cleveland Browns, took that trip to the New York Giants, and obviously the Giants, again, with more than a year of interest in him, continued that interest. And I know that we're going to get to Aaron Rodgers, but as both sides sort of did this dance, they realized, look, yeah, we signed Jameis Winston. Yeah, we have Tommy DeVito. Yes, we have the number 3 overall draft pick. But we can still have you, Russell Wilson. And so for a one-year deal that at its base is $10.5 million, Russell Wilson goes to the Big Apple.
I'm glad you outlined all of that at the end, because it's a crowded quarterback room right now, and the quality in it maybe suggests you have capable starters and a number of them, but you don't necessarily have a future if you look towards what Russell Wilson might be, what Jameis Winston might be, what Tommy DeVito we've seen can be. If you're looking for a long-term answer and you have a coach and an executive in the position that the Giants currently are, what does this mean for that 3rd overall pick and further down the draft board for the Giants come late April?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's an interesting one. Look, Russell Wilson, he's 37, going to be 37 years old this upcoming season. You have Jameis Winston, who's been an off-again, on-again starter. Tommy DeVito, at this point, I think the Giants probably know what they have in him, like him at the certain salary number that he's at. Speaking of salary, the fact that the Giants have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, I think most people would agree, 2 capable veteran starting quarterbacks, maybe not going to get you to the Super Bowl, but capable starting veteran quarterbacks at a combined about $15 million in 2025. That's a good deal. That's good team building, right? If you want to look at it as we're not going to get the guy in the Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts tier, but to get 2 guys at under 15 or around $15 million this year, okay, good. Now you have the number 3 overall pick. We've been saying for more than a month now, Cam Ward is very, very likely to go number 1 overall to whichever team is picking number 1 overall. After his pro day yesterday, it certainly continues to appear that the Tennessee Titans are not going to allow any other team to have the number 1 overall pick. And so let's go ahead and place Cam Ward in Nashville. At number 2, you have the Cleveland Browns. They will be out at Colorado's Pro Day at the start of April to take a look at Shedeur Sanders. Perhaps another look at an Abdul Carter with Penn State as well. That is a possibility. Travis Hunter, Will Campbell. We can go down the list of the top guys in the draft. But really what the Giants are looking at is potentially a Shedeur Sanders at number 3, potentially having to trade up to number 2. You know, we've seen trades up by 1 spot to make sure that you get the quarterback that you need. It's possible Shedeur Sanders doesn't get picked in the top 3, top 5, top 10 first round. You know, last week a lot of folks were saying Shedeur Sanders to the Cleveland Browns at 2. Now a lot of folks are saying Shedeur Sanders at number 3 to the Giants. I say we're a month out from the draft and no one really knows. But what this deal for Russell Wilson does for the New York Giants, it does not preclude them from taking a Shedeur Sanders at number 3 at all. And so they may still believe that their quarterback of the future is in the draft. And whether they have communicated that to Russell Wilson or not, I would have to imagine he has to have some idea that he just signed this contract with the possibility that he may be more or less raising a replacement